The line between scary and too scary is a subjective experience, and when it comes to horror movies, a pretty big statement to be banding around. Well, fear not those that laugh in the face of zombie redneck torture families and, of course, mermen, for these are the films that are just too scary to get through unless you're hard as nails. With endings that make it all the more difficult to resist the urge to slam the power button off with all the force you can muster, get your hands up in front of your face, the light switch primed and ready, and some nice cat videos up on YouTube to cleanse the palate. You're gonna need them. With that in mind, I'm Ash from What Culture, and these are 10 horror films too scary to finish. 9. The Descent. One of British horror's best outputs, The Descent is the story of a group of female outdoors types getting trapped in an unknown cave system while out for a trip to rekindle their friendship. Rife with mental as well as physical turmoil deep underground, the women discover that the caves have been left alone for a reason. Namely, there's a bunch of horrible pasty monsters out to eat anyone that stumbles through their territory. It's like me in my bedroom. One jump scare in particular that introduces the group's situation is probably up there as one of the scariest unexpected moments in a movie. Enough to bash the power button quicker than you can say, "Now that's enough of that, please, thank you." 8. Veronica. Dubbed by Netflix as its scariest movie ever and now ranked in the top 10 of films viewers turn off before finishing for being too frightening, Veronica created quite the hype upon release and continues to do so. Telling the tale of yet another young girl haunted by something dark after playing with a Ouija board, I thought I said to stop this, guys. Veronica isn't by any stretch of the imagination a new story, but it is one that's told by Paco Plaza, which makes all the difference. Where do we know this name from? Well, Plaza is the guy behind infamous Spanish horror movie Wreck, Veronica functioning as his latest original story since the found footage trilogy that finished in 2012. Working in his deliciously dark cinematography and incredible skill for pacing, Veronica slowly ekes out the last 3 days of the young girl's life as she cares for her siblings and tries to figure out the curse that's been bestowed upon her. 7. The Autopsy of Jane Doe. One of the most well-executed and mysterious horror movie narratives in recent years, the criminally underrated The Autopsy of Jane Doe is a masterclass in creeping dread and terrifying guesswork. When a beautiful corpse is brought to a coroner's, the father-son team that work there must figure out exactly where she came from and what other dark secrets she could be hiding. It's a simple premise and one that could easily veer into hammy overindulgence with a mortuary setting full of corpses and a room designed for cutting bodies open. But it never takes one step that could be perceived as too much. Relying on noises, subtle hints, facial expression, and environment-bending events as the story unfolds, director Andre Øvredal, the man behind Trollhunter no less, makes something that's genuinely a bit uncomfortable to watch. 6. The Fly. It's Jeff Goldblum fusing himself with a housefly and going full Jeff Goldblum, for God's sake. I'm not entirely sure if that's disturbing or the best thing to ever bless cinema screens, but I'm going to go with the latter. In either case, the journey he takes to get there is unarguably a terrifying one. The Fly is David Cronenberg's body horror masterpiece, starring scientist Goldblum, aka Seth Brundle, who creates teleportation technology and inadvertently alters his DNA when testing his machines out. Devolving into a half-fly hybrid, he slowly and graphically deteriorates into a monster of both body and mind. The director is infamous for his gross-out horror, and The Fly is one of the best examples in his filmography. It might not be one that you actually want to finish though, as Brundle's skin falls off or he snaps people's arms in two though. 5. The Conjuring. Heralded by James Wan and spawning a ridiculous amount of sequels and spin-offs, The Conjuring brought together old-school sensibilities with modern technology to create something special, a fresh twist on the haunted house. Featuring Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson as married paranormal investigators, the Warrens, they visit a family of 7 who fear for their lives after the escalation of supernatural happenings in their home. Based loosely on a true story, it makes it even more horrible to think that this happened to real-life people, and makes it even less appealing to sit out the truly intense exorcism scene that inevitably pays out as the finale of the film. 4. Rosemary's Baby. Another horror cinema classic and expertly executed exercise in paranoia, Rosemary's Baby has long held a spot in the hearts of lovers of all things spooky, skulking through its narrative slowly and surely until reaching an incredible climax. With Mia Farrow turning in one of the best performances of her career, is at the very least a convincing enough example of why you should never have a child. Devil worshippers or not, getting pregnant is just not a good idea. Tragically, director Roman Polanski actually suffered from a similar situation to his film, losing his pregnant wife to Charles Manson's cult followers in the 60s, making the film just that bit more unbearable to watch. 3. Hereditary. The most recent addition to the horror oeuvre, it was almost a DFS sale guarantee that the production studio A24 were going to knock it out of the park with any of their spooky releases, and Hereditary proves that prophecy entirely right. Toni Collette is a harried mother trying to figure out a dark secret tied to her family. And trust me, it's dark. Really dark. Darker than Jules' search history dark. Transforming at breakneck speed from a film slowly being brought to the boil to a scalding hot mess of nasty visuals and frightening mythology best left forgotten, Hereditary plays out as the worst kind of family gift, making those hand-knitted jumpers from your granny look positively fashionable in comparison. It's best watched with very little information, as even the trailers themselves don't give the game away for once, but you'll be braver than most for sitting this one through to the end. 2. Audition. Infamous for its violent undertones, or rather overtones to be fair, Audition is the nasty little Japanese horror film that has become a fan favourite since its release. When widower Aoyama decides to start dating again, he sets up a fake production with his friend to be able to screen potential women for dates, thinking they're going for a film part. A mysterious, withdrawn woman named Asami attends, and Aoyama becomes interested, blossoming a budding relationship between the pair. It all sounds lovely and nice, right? Wrong. Asami has a dark past that is coming crashing into the widower's present, and the results are completely terrifying. There's a reason this film inspired movies such as Hostel and Saw, and coined the term torture porn. 1. The Witch. Another film proving A24 is the king of all things f***ed up. The Witch epitomises all the films on this list for being the most carefully considered, yet still horrifying movie of them all. Whilst it can divide audiences either way for its oldie English dialogue and collecting of all its eggs until the final act, it's so cleverly played out that the ending will have you flipping off your TV from the sheer wrecking of your nerves. A family living in 1600s America soon begins to come unravelled when their youngest son goes missing. The other children accuse their sister of witchcraft. But is there actually something supernatural going on, or is paranoia set to send them on a downward spiral? Only time will tell, my guys, and it's an hour and a half that will leave you wishing you never got to the end of it.